I love fighting games, and what I love about them is the roster, especially characters who represent nationalities, cultures, martial arts, or even famous people they're inspired by. For today's episode, I decided to come up with a character that feels a bit close to home. Okay, well, close enough. I'm not from Sheffield, and I'm not Yemeni, but I am British, Asian, and Muslim. So with the working name, Malik Yafai, I came up with a character mostly inspired by the one and only Naseem Hamed. When coming up with new character ideas, one thing I like to do is come up with what kind of game they would fit into. So for this character, I thought to myself, what if we had a game like Tekken or Virtua Fighter, a 3D fighting game, but all the characters are based on boxers or even boxing style martial arts that focuses on punches or hand strikes. Since modern day Queensberry rules boxing was invented by the British, I felt like it makes sense to go for a British character first when creating this idea. We've had plenty of British characters in fighting games. We've had British characters who are white, we've had British characters who are black. And when it comes to British boxers in fighting games, we have Steve Fox, who has an Irish mom, and we have Dudley, who is inspired by Chris Eubank, a British Jamaican boxer. But we've never had a British Asian fighting game character, or at least one that's a boxer, which is strange because there are plenty of British Asians in boxing. So it made sense to have a British Asian character inspired by Prince Naseem Hamed, probably the most iconic British Asian martial artist of all time. Interestingly, there is an existing fighting game character loosely inspired by him, British Asian kickboxer Prince Naseem from the Square Enix fighting game Ergis. Though there's a few differences, such as Naseem from the game is 5'10" and a kickboxer, whilst Naseem Hamed in real life was 5'3" and a regular boxer. Well, kinda. Outside of Japan though, Naseem was renamed to Doza, which is a very rare surname that is mostly found in Bangladesh, which kinda makes me wonder, was Naseem Doza inspired also by British Bangladeshi kickboxer Ali Jacko? But anyways, Naseem Hamed was probably the most influential British Asian Muslim athlete of his time. I used to hear about his speed, dodging, and acrobatics, and I thought, imagine a fighting game boxer that can move like this. Design-wise, I wanted him to resemble many modern British Asian boxers. Initially, the concept was a British Asian mixed fighter, as I took inspiration from Yemeni Naseem Hamed, Pakistani Amir Khan, and Bangladeshi Dan Chapman. Like Hamed, he is acrobatic and short, but like Khan, he has his incredible punching speed, and like Dan Chapman, he's a bare-knuckle boxer. However, the initial idea of him being mixed, I kind of based his face on British Asian footballer Zidane Iqbal as the model, as Zidane is half Pakistani and half Iraqi. However, as I sketched more and more ideas, I decided to rework the character as just being fully British Yemeni, and base him on not only Naseem Hamed himself, but his son Adam and Sami. Plus there's also the three Yafai brothers, Jamal, Karl and Jalal Yafai. All of them are British Yemeni boxers. I always initially wanted to give him spiky anime hair, but I thought, you know what, giving him loose curls everywhere looked better, and while it was originally because of Zidane Iqbal's hairstyle, even looking at some British Yemeni boxers such as Naseem Hamed's sons, I think the wavy hair works as well here. While initially this concept started off as a Queensberry rules boxer, I decided to go for bare knuckle boxing, which is also invented by the British, but I felt like bare knuckle boxing suited this character better, mostly because the acrobatics would include things like being able to cartwheel or use handsprings, and it will be easier to do that when you've got wraps on your hands rather than boxing gloves. I switched the Jin Kazama inspired gauntlets from the concept art for wraps to be more accurate to bare knuckle boxing, which actually allowed these wraps on your wrists. I chose to give him a red hoodie, black tracksuit bottom with a vertical white stripe on each leg and studs resembling the studs on Naseem Doza's outfit. The colour scheme resembles the Yemeni flag for his ethnicity, plus the blue hand wraps referencing his British nationality. The white studs on his white stripe I felt like was a really good callback to Naseem Doza from Ergis because of how they're both inspired by Naseem Hamed. Overall, design-wise, I wanted his outfit to look like something an actual British person would wear when they are going to a boxing gym or when they go working out, and I felt this works really well. I will admit, when coming up for a background stage for this character, I went as simple as a boxing ring, because it was just the easy idea to go for. Not too creative or imaginative, I know. Personality-wise, he is a devout religious Muslim, much like the real Hamed, but he has a playful, energetic, showboating personality. He's not afraid to run his mouth or dance around his opponents, highlighting his confidence. Much like Tekken's Steve Fox, Malik Yafai's kick buttons will be dodges, and using a combination of kicks and directional inputs, he can pull off acrobatic moves and flips, twists, handswings just like Hamed himself did in real life. Most of his punches will be quick, fast, matching his evasive speed. He'd likely be an orthodox swarmer, though in FGC terms he'd be a rushdown character. While I can't afford to have a full moveset animated for the character, here is his hypothetical cinematic super. For his super, I wanted to emphasize his incredible speed and agility, starting off with a quick punch. They will attempt to retaliate with a punch back, but he will dodge around them. As they look over their shoulder, he will move out of the scene, only to jump back in and punch them in the face, showing off his super speed. The speed blitz is also inspired by Macquarie. I wanted a speed blitz who resembles Steve Fox's cross-art animation, but to end it, I wanted to remind people of Yafai's acrobatic abilities, so I'd have him do a round-off handspring into an Arabian flip, but just before he lands, he will do his Superman punch. Thank you so much for watching. By the way, all my artwork has been done by this artist, Rhinessa Dalivor. Feel free to reach out to them and commission artwork and animations from them.